Only thing that's going to separate the winners versus the losers is the doers versus the thinkers. A lot of people sit at home and they're like, I don't have any time. Then they watch 2 hours of TV, they do this, they scroll TikTok or whatever, versus the guy who's trying to really make it work. He's listening to a podcast while he's vibe coding. There's no reason why you can't make more money. It's like the golden age and anyone can make a tremendous amount of money. You just have to apply yourself. Where is the most interesting properties in South Africa? ChatGPT and all these things helped me arrive at this answer. I've been shopping the concept for 2.5 years now, and we're actually about to close the round. But it's a petrol station property fund. You don't need hundreds of millions of rands to get going. You just need to have the balls to take something that you think has the potential and really drive it till you find someone who thinks, okay, this oak's persistent. Let's go with it. I went polar opposite. I was like, I'm going into hard assets. Got into the trenches of construction, physically building it. And I was 21 and I built the only Cuban Nandos in the world. It was such a cool contract. And then they were like, hey, if you want, we're going to build drive-through Nandos now. Come and do that with us.
Welcome, Elli. It's good having you here today. So thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And super excited to hear all about you. I've heard a lot about you, so I'm very excited to delve
Hope only
into
good things that dance.
Absolutely. So let me just explain who Elli is. Elli De Guevara is a South African entrepreneur focused on property and infrastructure development. At 30, that's still very young.
Yeah, I'm a young man. I'm the youngest of your guests, so
yeah, you definitely are. He's building South Africa's first petrol station property fund, focused on acquiring and developing fuel station real estate while modernizing the broader energy ecosystem around it. Very interesting with what's happening around the world right now.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time. That's why I actually almost didn't make it to the podcast.
Yeah.
The war has been mad, but sorry.
No, I mean, it's crazy right now. But we'll delve into all that now. And then alongside this, you're busy developing a 24,000 square shopping center in Soshanguve and working on residential property with neighboring estates, giving you experience across both commercial residential property. So very interesting at the age of 30 already.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out.
That's crazy, Elli. And that's such an amazing thing to be able to do at the age of 30. So, Elli, let's start from the beginning. You're 30 years old. You've accomplished a hell of a lot. You've got massive assets under your portfolio already. Let's start. As a young boy, how did this start for you? Were you always looking at property, or were you always just an entrepreneur, or where did this love for entrepreneurship come from?
It's a great question. I really think since I was a kid, I would steal my grandmother's cigarettes, right? And I'd go back to primary school and I'd sell it to the high schoolers. And I'd be like, yeah, 1 rand for the cigarette. And then I'd go to the tuck shop and buy my mate some food. And that was my hustle. And I made some good money, right? I was the tuck shop man. And I was helping my granny smoke less, so it was like a win-win. I was doing a good job until she caught me, and then she didn't see it that way, right? But it was always sort of that desire to flip things and make friends and build something. And then I tried to study. That didn't really work out too well. I went to Varsity College for 3 months and to study business science. And I kept asking the lecturers, as they would teach, I'd be like, is this practical? Can I really apply the 4 Ps of marketing to a real business? You're saying it's going to work. How do you know? And they couldn't give me an answer. I was like, well, have you applied it to your business? And they were like, no, we're just lecturers. So I dropped out. My mom was furious because she paid the whole tuition up front, right? As you do. And now I've got to pay her back. But yeah, it was from the earliest time on, stealing my granny cigarettes, that was when I always wanted to build something. And when Facebook came out, I think I was in grade 7 or 8. That was the real hook for me. It was I want to be the Mark Zuckerberg, go and build a Facebook or do something really cool in technology. So yeah, that was the earliest that I realized. I don't want to yap too much about it. This
is your show.
That's your show, man.
I'd love to hear more. Yeah.
So then after we dropped out, I co-founded a company with my cousin. He was living in Israel at the time. He was in the military. So in Israel, they have compulsory military service. He was deep in the military, building software for the military. And I was like, hey, let's do the startup. And we built a a startup called Intelligence, right? Where we put cameras in nightclubs. So we put it above the DJ's head. And you could go on the app and you could see inside the club. It was pretty amazing, right? This is 2013. Like the App Store had like nothing. And we were one of the first to actually put a live streaming app on the Play Store. It's like one of the first to ever do it. And a lot of lessons, right? We didn't know what like DMCA laws are. We like listening to music that's copyright. So we got cooked. We learned
As
a
one
lot
does in your first business.
Exactly. We got slammed by like Universal, and all these guys came crushing down on us and kind of killed the whole dream. And that was the moment where I was so like, sat with my like back in my mom's house, and I was just so like upset by getting my ass handed. Like, you really, like, your business, and it's a startup, it's like a party, it's a baby, right? Yeah. You really put everything into it. And when it dies, it's not very nice. It's like any death, right? Yeah. So I went polar opposite. I was like, I'm going into hard assets. I don't want to touch techno. I'm not the Mark Zuckerberg anymore. I don't want Mark Zuckerberg. I want to make money now and build. And I had no idea how to do anything in construction. So I went to like Builder's Warehouse, and you've got the oaks with the signs, right?
Yes.
Like I'm a painter or whatever. Yeah. And I took each one of their numbers down, and I went to like friends and family. I was like, hey, like, can I fix your wall? Whatever the case is. Yeah, fix the wall. And I'd go with the guys outside Builders. They'd walk with me and I'd be like, okay, how do you fix a wall? I don't know. And they'd teach me. I'd have my little notebook and be like, hey, you need plaster, you need paint, you need primer. No one teaches you that. So how do you learn it? So that's how I got into the trenches of construction, like physically building it. And my like coolest moment there, I was 21 and I built the only kosher Nando's in the world is in Joburg. And I built the whole exterior of it. It was such a cool contract. And then they were like, hey, if you want, we're going to build drive-through Nando's now. Come and do that with us. And that's sort of, then it started snowballing, and then that's how the whole construction thing began, and then property. And
how did you get that first contract with Nando's?
One of my other clients. So it was like, as I was like fixing a wall here, fixing it there, they just loved that. I think what they really enjoyed was I was physically doing it with them. It's not like a contractor where the guy just comes, puts his oaks on the site and buggers off. I was like there with the pickaxe, but because I wanted to learn. I was like, how do you need to know how to do these things. I was, how you ever going to go and know what you're looking at when you're buying you go and you want to buy a house. You have no idea how a house is built. How do you know if you're getting screwed or not? So it's like important things to set the foundation for your success. So I was like very involved in the actual construction part. I think that's what they really liked, because then when I sat with the Nando's guys, they were like, first my quotes weren't ridiculous because I wasn't like trying to make lots of money. So I was very badly priced. Like hindsight, I should have charged more, but I was very cheap. And I made sure, like a perfectionist, like it has to be exactly right, and used good material, and they loved it. I underquoted most of the people there, and I like over delivered massively on the job.
I think that's a big thing when it comes to any person that's successful, is taking on any project and making it your own and doing the absolute very best to make sure that it's a good product that you're handing over to a client. I think too many times is people just do it as a job, but it's not really embedded in them that this is something that I really need to make a success of. And through doing that, people pick that up, I guess, right? I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it came down, right? Is that they really saw that it's not just another contractor just putting it in and trying to do their thing. The problem was you learn very quickly you can't scale. And that's when I was like, okay, a little pivot needs to happen.
And how did that pivot happen?
A lot of pain. A lot of pain, like any pivot, a lot of pain. After the construction was interesting because it's like you make a bit of money and then there's nothing, and you have to wait for that next contract. You make some money and then there's nothing. It's not like a great cash flow business. And that was like a great moment in my career where I was like, okay, I need cash flow now to be able to really build something meaningful. And that's when I went back into the technology space to try and build something that can give me cash flow to then come back into property and play at a different level, So
let me get you right. You were in like a tech space and then went into property and then back into tech space.
So why did I go back into tech? People my age, like millennials, the golden age of like my grandfather, where he could buy a property for 10,000 Rand or 20,000 Rand, and today it's 2 million Rand. It's like gone. It's like non-existent for my generation, right? So where do the guys my age go to turn their 10,000 Rand into a million Rand? There's only two places, in my opinion: the casino, right, and the lottery.
They're not the best place.
Not the best place. Yeah. And emerging like crypto markets, where you've got this volatility that if you really pay attention, you can make generational money, right? Or at least enough money to do something meaningful, And that's what really attracted me to the crypto scene.
How were you introduced into that crypto scene, or how did you get involved and get to understand that crypto scene?
It was so scary going into it because it's a very intimidating space, right? It's like Bitcoin, what the hell is it? Like where is it and how does it work? And what happened was, from the live streaming startup that we got cooked on, right? Yeah. And moved and sat with my mom and worked through it, all my pain. TikTok really liked what we did there. And at the time, streaming, COVID was happening. Everyone wanted to become a streamer. So I joined the live streaming team to help lead their live streaming product, right? So I pretty much became like a live streaming gamer and full on like entrenched in streaming and content creation to understand how to build the best live streaming product for these people. And from there, we worked with a lot of different brands and celebrities and all sorts of people, because anyone using TikTok, we'd want to understand what do you hate about it? You can get 1 million views, but is it making you money? No. Okay, so how do we make you money? Well, let's figure out different ways to monetize. So there's like TikTok Shop now, and there's all sorts of products, but live streaming was a really good product that helped them monetize. So you can like send gifts and all these things. And through that, I sat a lot of the time with guys like VaynerMedia, which is Gary Vee's media company, and he has a lot of creators in it. And they'd always just yell NFTs, NFTs, NFTs. And that was sort of my like little nugget into like, oh, let's have a look at that. Okay. And that was sort of how I got orange pilled, like they call it. Orange pilled is you got Bitcoin, you're now a full Bitcoin maxi.
Okay.
Now you believe in self-sovereignty and all of that.
And NFTs, to the audience that doesn't understand what an NFT is, maybe you can explain NFT. And how is that NFT, by the way, market going at this stage?
Done and dusted.
Is it?
Yeah. So NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. Their whole idea started with taking art and making it more accessible to people and immortalizing it. You can burn the Mona Lisa as an example and it's gone forever. But if you digitize it and you make it that it's immortalized on the blockchain, that was their whole concept of fungibility, right? So it's a one of one, never to be replicated. And it has proof of ownership and everything attached to it as this asset class. That was the idea. But then it obviously got blown out of proportion where people were just doing silly things. So where like Dion, myself, Dan, a lot of the people and a lot of the hype was around building community, right? So you have this thing where First Thursdays, right? Where you've got a bunch of people that meet up at that location and they hang out and right? That's a community that you're building. So what people realized is, wow, these NFTs are at the perfect time where COVID has isolated everyone. And what do humans crave? People, right? Yeah. Interactions. Yeah. So they're like, this is the perfect mechanism for creating communities. So what happened there was you'd have a limited 10,000 tokens. Each one represented a membership. This is how it like evolved into immortalizing art into community membership tokens. That's pretty much the journey of what happened. The cooler the community, the more expensive the entry, right? If you want to join like EO, entrepreneur organization, right? It's like 100,000 Rand to join that organization, and it's a global organization. Same principle. The cooler people, the more exclusive they are, the higher the price to get in. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, some of these tokens went to like $150,000, $300,000 a token. All you're buying is a little funny art style that you can put as your profile picture. A lot of people did this as like caricatures to showcase online, hey, I'm part of this cool club, right? And that's pretty much what happened. And that was the cycle that Dan and Dion and myself and all these people jumped on. The problem with crypto, once you get into it, and I don't say blockchain because blockchain is the technology, right? Crypto is more this industry, right? The problem with it is it's got these cycles, right? And it's unbelievably predictable. So before NFTs, there was ICOs, right? Which is initial coin offerings, which is the same shit. Yeah. Different smell. The same thing though. Yeah. So now all they did was they took ICOs in 2017. It had this unbelievable run like this. If you had to look at a chart, right? Hockey stick growth, dead. Then what? A year later, oh, NFTs are the great thing, dead. Same concept, right? Now, what happened after NFTs? Meme coins. I'm sure you've heard of meme coins.
Yeah.
Meme coins were next.
Hasn't Donald Trump got a meme coin?
He does,
or
yeah, Trump coin. So now it's meme coins. And now, guess what? Do you think meme coins are relevant still? No, they're dead. So, but what's amazing about these cycles is in every cycle, and they're usually like 3 years, there's an incredible opportunity for guys our age to make unbelievable money. Because these NFTs, you'd buy them at $100, $200. You'd contribute to the community. You'd do everything to make it as cool as possible. And the direct result of your contribution to that community was the price of the tokens went up. So your membership got more expensive. You're making money. And if I go and buy 10 of these membership tokens, right, and I make sure that it's more scarce, right, on the public side of things, number goes up. And that's all I care about is if the number goes up on the screen, I'm happy, right? And that's what happened. So I launched an NFT project called Anybody's, and I took all the different brands that I worked with at TikTok. Like we launched amazing products with Toys R Us, Tay Keith, Nike. We worked with Nike South Africa. And that was an amazing company and made some good money. And then rolled that money into the next cycle, which was meme coins. Yeah. And we built this product, and it was funny. It was called GoFundMeme, right? Like, GoFundMe? Just memes. And you cannot believe it went ballistic, super viral, mega viral. We built a $150 million business in 7 days.
What?
Can you believe that? In 7 days, $150 million business, and we were doing $2 billion of trading revenue in 7 days. It's like so there's nowhere else in the world right now where a 30-year-old or a 25-year-old or even a 22-year-old, you must see there's some guys that are like 16 doing like unbelievable things in this space where you can build a business and make it go to $150 million in 7 days. It's just not possible. Not in the real world. And I say real world because crypto, you're like super detached from reality, right? Your value gets your value system gets deteriorated in that instance. Now, at the full circle moment, crypto gave me the exposure where I could turn my 100 Rand into 10,000 Rand, into 100,000 Rand, into 1 million Rand. While I was doing all of this, I was also trying to play the property markets. And that's pretty much so now that was sort of my cash flow to now go and buy these properties.
Back into property
Back
again.
into hard assets, because you've got ultra speculative market and then property. It's like polarizing, but it makes sense. Make your money here. So long as you have the discipline to take the profits, that's the biggest problem. It's like the casino, right? No one knows when to cash out and walk out the door. You're going to make all this money. It's easy to make it, very hard to keep it. If you can keep it, put it in properties. Now you've got a good thing work. And that's pretty much what happened.
That's crazy. And it's amazing the type of money that can be made. But I must also say, you sound like somebody that investigates and does a lot of back-end work. Like you were saying, when you were starting with the property side, you actually went and learned and dug the trenches with the guys to learn what to do. And it's the same in crypto market. I mean, a lot of guys think they can make all this money out of crypto. They just throw their money and they've done no research, nothing on it. And they lose a hell of a lot of money in regards to that. So I think when it comes to any of these type of things, like you say, a person has to be you've got to thoroughly investigate it and know what you're doing before jumping into these things. And I've met quite a lot of guys that have done really well in crypto, but I've met a hell of a lot more people that have really lost everything with crypto. And, it's just very interesting. As a millennial, what do you see is how millennials think right now in terms of
it's a
finances, in terms of where they're going to right now? Because a lot of the older generation are battling to understand. I mean, you're a millennial, but you're sitting at home doing nothing, yet you're making 10 times more money than I'm your dad who's working every day.
Listen, if you guys are struggling to understand millennials, the Gen Zs are off the charts. Those guys are nuts. I don't even understand. It's like a whole different breed of people. Yeah. Millennials are an interesting group, hey? Because we were born at the exact moment where we didn't have iPhones, right? So we still grew up in this world where my mom would say, okay, come home when the lights go on. Yeah, that was like my childhood. My son's childhood is going to be a massively different experience. So what's cool about millennials is that we have a very good idea of your guys' world and this new world, which is this technology first, that crazy new world, right? I think that gives us a really cool edge to be able to understand the older generation and the younger generation, because we're kind of like an in-betweener, right? We're not like the hardcore either side. You're like the hardcore either side, one side, and Gen Z is like bang here, and we're just like the in-betweeners. So I think like millennials definitely feel like they've been screwed, because most of them can't afford things, right? And this isn't just like unique to South Africa. Go to America, go to anywhere, right? They're all struggling. Inflation's cooked them. So I think these like speculative alternative markets are like the most interesting thing, but a lot of these millennials are far too scared to, everyone has different, it's like, why do you have your business? Is because you've exactly what you were just describing, right? You went and built this business understanding the medical aids and the savings and how to set up proper wills and all these things, right? Yeah. Versus I'm too lazy to go and do that, so I'm going to come to you, right? Yeah. So I think most of the millennials are far too scared to be risk on and build businesses versus like, I'll tell you the most interesting like thing that was said to me recently. I sat with the Buffett investment guys. Are you familiar with them?
No.
So Jonathan Bear, he's one of South Africa's billionaires. He built like Santon City, Melrose Arch, and all these things, right? Buffett Investments is like family office that they go in there and invest in a lot of different startups and properties and all sorts of things. And I sat with their like the principal, and we're just having a chat, and he was so blown away by the fact that none of my friends follow the same journey. But if you look at his friends, all of them are business owners. He's like, the friends I went to school with, all of them have started their own businesses.
Yes.
And I'm like, geez, but you're right. None of my friends have done that. It's so crazy, right? It's just such a different world. How many of your friends are their own businesses? You've got your own business, right?
Yeah.
How many of your friends have their own businesses?
Yeah, many.
Many. Okay, ask Dan how many of his friends have their own business. Seriously, it's like I have one friend actually. I have one friend out of 10 that has his own business. The rest all employed, and they're happy doing that because there's no risk, it's comfortable, whatever. But that was like such a crazy thing for me to think about. And it's true, right? So I just think the risk appetite isn't there. They feel like they're hard done by. They're all renting. I feel like renting is a bit of a psyop that we've been sold, right? Where it's like, yeah, renting's actually good because then you're saving money and whatever, but not really, in my opinion. It depends. It's very much dependent on the person. If you're an entrepreneur, renting is great. If you're a 9-to-5 wage guy, I don't think it's great because you're not building equity.
That's something that we can delve into a little bit, because there's so many conflicting things being spoken about in regards to property. A lot of guys are saying, listen, if you had to take your money, put it in the JSE, leave it over time, you'll make a far higher return than having a property. What's your stance in this and the way guys are saying, I'd rather rent and take that extra money that I would have been paying on a bond and the transfer fees and everything and stick that into equity?
It's a good question.
Or would you go the property route?
If I had to start again, I would rent, but purely because of the type of person I am. I would take every last rand and I would invest it in myself. Right? I'd go and try and multiply that money myself versus expecting others to multiply it for me. So I think renting is great for entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurship and that sort of thing. Makes sense, right? It gives you the leverage that you need. You need more cash to make more risk, right? Take more risk. The 9-to-5er, right? Millennial, he's thinking to himself, okay, cool. I'm renting and I'm saving 4,000 Rand a month and I'm going to put that in the S&P 500 or I'm going to put it in the JSE. Do you think they're actually doing that?
No, they're definitely not doing it.
So they're absolutely not. And they're stuck in this, like, on this treadmill, of the rent's there, salary is there, they're jolling, they're doing whatever. And as soon as they stop paying, it's like their lights go off. But in my opinion, the 9-to-5er should be buying the property, not renting it, and trying to build as much equity there. Because then at least there's equity. If shit hits the fan, put it on the market. At least you get something back, right? And also too many of them are financing cars and balloon payments. And like, I just think that there's not enough financial discipline in like my age group.
It is getting tough out there. And it's, I mean, if we look at what's happening right now in regards to the war, and you look at fuel prices and oil and everything that's shooting through the roof, which could bring massive implications for inflation. I mean, it is getting a lot more tough out there. But what I do enjoy about, I think, on property is, you know, you are building that asset and you're kind of forced to put that money away into that asset. And you have also got the benefit that you could also rent it out, you know, which is a really unique thing with property, is
Absolutely.
you being able to get your bond paid off by somebody else. And in regards to that, have you speculated with property in terms of buying a place, selling a place?
A ton. I sat with, you know, before I bought, I've recently bought 3 Greenfield properties in this, very similar to this sort of development in Stain City. It's called the Neighborhood Estate. And I was risk off of Joburg, Gauteng. I was like, the property market here sucks. And about 2 years ago, I took a flight down to Cape Town to sit with this guy called Jonathan Broll Properties founder. And I sat with him just to like debate that shopping center that you led with the intro, right? Yeah. So the shopping center development is also a greenfield piece of land worth $7 million that I'm sitting with. And now, how the hell do I make this thing have value, right? You need to go and convince other people to come in, because to build 24,000 square meters is 500 million rand. I do not have 500 million rand, I assure you, right? So you need to go find people with 500 million. So Jonathan Broll, type of guy that has 500 million. So I'm sitting with him and I'm just like walking through the plans and like, hey, like, what do you think of this? Just to circle back, whenever I go into a new industry, or you go, or any of the successful people, not to toot my own horn or anything, but it's about, you know, really getting to grips with what it is that you're trying to, you know, the same way we're pickaxing to figure out how construction works. I'm sitting with the most accomplished property guys to see, you know, if they think it's a bad idea, I'm sure shit not going to do it, right? Because what the hell do I know?
Exactly,
you know? So Jonathan, he was like, yeah, it seems nice, do this, do that. And I said, well, I asked him a great question for your podcast. I said, if you were 27 and you had to start all over again, what would you do? And he said, buy property in Joburg. Can't believe that. I said, are you serious? And he says, yeah, I've just bought a bunch. So I was like, holy shit. I was with my partner at the time. We fly back. I was like, we need to buy property in Joburg, dude. And that's exactly what we did. We bought off like 3 greenfield stands that we're going to do these residential developments. And I was at gym, the same gym that Dan goes to, right? And this comes back to like who you know. I think property is very much a who you know game, right? I have no idea how to build a shopping center. I have no idea how to build a house. Well, I have some sort of idea, but I've never built a full house ground up, right? So again, applied the same principle. I need to find the best person who's built many houses. So while I was at gym, talking shit at the gym, meeting guys, whatever, you know, you make mates there. It's one oak is an unbelievable residential developer. Who would have thought, right? I bring him to these stands, and all I had to do was I had to put 20% down on the stands, right? 20% down, they reserved them, and then I went to go get some investors, right? So that was all I was exposed to in terms of equity. It was 2.5 million rands of cash down. Sat with these guys and they were like, yeah, we love this development. Let's go in. They're happy to come in and do full cash. They don't even borrow from the bank, right? So it's not like you're even gearing it. They were just like full cash. Let's go. So it's like, geez, what a beautiful thing, right? We just took transfer now, actually, literally last week. And we're already up. So we bought it with a group of developers. They're like, it's an Investec development. So they split it up between 5 different developers, like Tri-Colt and all these different developer companies. And I was just like one of the little ones that kind of slotted in. And we're already up 4 million rand on our equity. We haven't even put a brick down. We haven't even done anything. And we're up good money. So it's just, you know, from Jonathan telling me he's risk on in Joburg, okay? He's made billions. Okay, so now let's look at Joburg. Where's developments? I mean, Stain City, the guy that's my partner in this is also, he's built a bunch in Stain City. Right? So he's like, that's his game. He builds these houses, sells them, rents them, whatever the case is. And all I had to do was 2.5 million rand down. And if I didn't take her, okay, they give me 2.5 million back. So it bought me a year to go and find a potential co-developer who had the time to do it. That's exactly what I did. And now we're 4 million up without even laying a bloody brick.
That's
so
crazy.
I think those are the sorts of things that millennials that want to get exposure to property need to focus on. It's like, find people way smarter than you. Like, never be the smartest in the room.
Yeah.
It's like the worst, terrible room. And you know what I find interesting about these rich people? I feel like they're very bored, you know? So they've got all this money and they're trying to find like fun things to do. And they find a lot of purpose in like backing other entrepreneurs. They like live vicariously through entrepreneurship of like, okay, he's going to try and build these things and let's see what happens. It's going to be a fun ride, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like, and they're excited about that.
Yes.
Family offices, like you said, right?
Yeah.
That gives them a way to live more through other people and other entrepreneurship. I mean, even the shopping center. I don't know how to build a shopping center. I couldn't tell you the first thing. I truly do not know. All I had was a piece of land worth $7 million. Truly, $7 million. Goats. There's nothing there. And I spent a year and a half just trying to find someone to believe in the project. You know, you've got all these different developers, Mulman Property, and all these like really big groups. And I found a developer called Harriet Reed, and it was just interesting timing. The founder had a terrible cancer. He almost passed away, but he's done tremendous. Like, the guy's done unbelievably well. And he had like a 1% chance of survival. It's like a ridiculous story. Flew to America, like Oak should have been dead. Pulled through by the grace of God. And he came back, and he's like, the guy moves like this, you know, like he lives for today because he knows.
Yeah.
So as soon as I brought it to him, he puts me in touch with, he has like lots of different codes. This developer company is focused on like lower LSM shopping centers. This company is for residential. You know, he's got like all different codes. Puts me in touch with the CEO there called Dirk Prinsloo, Lekker Oak. And he runs a company called Safari Investments. It's listed on the stock exchange. And the Oak goes, I'm in. I'm like, you're joking, bro. They've done all the leasing. It's like 85% tenanted already. I still do not know how to build a shopping center, just so you know.
But you got the right people.
I got the right guy.
Yeah.
And he just believed in the vision. And there's good upside. And the most fun part was, I said to him, like, I don't want to be like the annoying kid bugging you, but I really want to indulge in the process so that I can at least learn. Like, happy to give up more equity to learn. I'm not here to try and have 80% of the scheme, you know? And he's been awesome. He's like the coolest. And I feel so out of place still. You sit in these meetings when you're building these like big developments, there's like 40 professionals, engineers, sewerage. And they're like, so what do you think, Elli? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you think.
Yeah, whatever that guy says, we do it like that, you know? I still don't know. But it's just the privilege to even be in that room, sit there, see the process, have these guys even give me the time of day. Like that. So you don't need hundreds of millions of rands to get going. You just need to have the balls to like take something that you think has the potential and really drive it till you find someone who thinks, okay, this oak's like persistent. Let's go with it.
That's an amazing. I love that concept, and I think that is entrepreneurship at its height and form.
100%.
Is you don't actually know what you're doing, but you've got an idea in your head, and you find the right people that do know what they're doing, and they run with that whole project, and your whole vision actually comes to life. And it's the same in business. Even in business, when you're working and you've got staff and everybody, it's having the right people in place that are dedicated to the vision, and you build the vision and you bring them on board to drive that vision together with you. And it's amazing that what you've done now. It just amazes me to think that you've done a full-on shopping center and you've got absolutely no idea.
Couldn't tell you.
What's
Still
going
couldn't
on.
tell you.
You just had a piece of property, but you brought the right people in, and you're making a success of that. Elli, tell me just how does now what we've been saying is we're talking big numbers and that, but let's bring it back down to the normal man in the street in regards to property. If you're a person that's got a 9-to-5 job, you've just bought your first property, you're busy paying off that property, and you really want to expand your property portfolio. You want to get into property and start expanding it. What skills can a person learn from you on how to expand your property portfolio? The nuts and bolts about,
Sure.
Go and find a property.
Yeah.
Try and put this deposit, leverage it against your other property. That concept, how does that work?
Maybe it's a hot take, I don't know, but I find that the banks, to get money from the banks today is like unbelievably difficult. I think it's the hardest it's ever been. There was concepts back when all these guys that we're talking about, Jonathan Brohl and Jonathan Ben, like all these property titans that built these empires, the banks back then would give you 100% of the debt. You cede them the full lease for 20 years and you only take ownership after 20 years. That's a great deal. Yeah. You don't need any money. You just need to make sure that you don't mess it up for 20 years and that Pick and Pay pays you, which today, not so much, but Pick and Pay might not pay you, but everyone else will pay you, right? So they had like the banks, it was free money, right? Today, if you try and do 90-10 gearing, right, where you even have to put 10%, that's a story. Try and do 60-40, the bank will still give you a problem. I had a friend who put 50% equity down on an apartment, and we're talking a R1 million apartment. So it's $500,000 he put in that he inherited from his grandfather's passing, and the bank wouldn't give him the other $500,000. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, you're already 50% exposed to this risk.
Yeah.
How much more exposure do they want you to have? Like, that's crazy. And his affordability was just there. So it was like kind of dancing between you can't afford it and can afford it. It was like a bit of a touch and go, which fine. It all comes down to affordability. But still, that's like a 50% down and you're still not even going to take a chance on the guy. So my take to the average Joe who wants to try and expand their property is find new ways of making more money before you even consider that. Because like you can do all these like loops and, there's a lot of looping strategies you can do. I just don't see like that as a realistic path today, at least. I'm now talking just today as a way to like genuinely grow into a beautiful portfolio. Residential's hard, eh? If you look at Joburg's residential properties versus Cape Town, if you had bought in Joburg versus Cape Town, where would you have made more money? Cape Town, right? With a 10 out of 10 times. So the 9-to-5 guy's now bought this property, this residential property, and after 10 years, his property is worth the exact same amount of money. It's not a great deal for him, right? He was promised it's meant to be like double the price, but that'll happen. He had that promise made to him. And I just don't think that the market's there. Like, I think the opportunities are in Greenfields, where you're the developer, so you're taking on that risk. What's interesting with developments, right? Residential, the bank will give you 90% gearing, irrespective of affordability, right? Because what they want, it's like to sell or you're renting it out or whatever, so you can prove it within those numbers. So there you can get 10% to go and build a 10 million rand home and sell it and make $1 million or make $500,000. So I find that is a much better strategy. If you can find a little plot where you've got some, like I think Stainsleig's still got tremendous upside. If you can get a nice stand here, build that, you're in for 10%. Find someone to give you the 10%. You just need to find 10%. It's R1 million. R1 million rand's a lot easier to find than what people imagine, to be honest, So that's what I would do is either stick to developments like Greenfield opportunities. I wouldn't buy like existing as unless it's for rental. But again, still like what if the tenant doesn't pay you?
Yeah,
Takes you 6 months to get him out.
Problem. Yeah, just to get the guy.
Just to get the guy out.
Yeah.
Now you're still paying the bill and you're not living in it.
And you didn't actually bring that into your budget. That
of course,
expense.
and then you cooked.
Yeah, no.
So I think the only answer is go make more money. To be honest, go make more money. And
obviously, a lot of people listening to this are going like, "Oh, go and make more money." What does a person do to just make more money? I think
education. Like I think we're in a world today where there's no excuse for you to not be able to do anything, right? AI is at like a level now where it's just beyond, right? You can build, like software engineers are done as far as I'm concerned, largely done, junior and mid engineers. Right? You can go and build unbelievable enterprise software in a week, right? There's no reason why you can't. Just go on YouTube, watch a YouTube video. So everything's there.
There's so much information.
Exactly.
Man.
No one can tell me today It's not like 5 years ago where I tried to get into Bitcoin and I had no cooking clue, right? Here you've got Claude, ChatGPT, you've got everything that you need to tell you what the hell you're looking at, give you the map, help you package it to the bank, write the email. So I feel like it's now just the only thing that's going to separate the people that are winning versus the winners versus the losers is the doers versus the thinkers, right? A lot of people sit at home and they're like, I don't have any time, but then they watch 2 hours of TV, they do this, they scroll TikTok, whatever, versus the guy who's trying to really make it work. He's listening to a podcast while he's vibe coding, while he's trying to solve, there's no reason why you can't make more money. I think today's like the best, this is like the golden age for making money on the internet, as far as I'm concerned. And anyone can make a tremendous amount of money. You just have to apply yourself. The same way that I went, took the pickaxe, clapped the ground with the guy from Builder's Warehouse. You do the same thing, man. Download a terminal. I'll give you a very funny example of this. I recently had a son, and I grew up Jewish, right? So my father was Roman Catholic, my mother was Jewish, like I told you. So when it came time to certain parts of the year, I would have Hanukkah and Christmas. It's pretty fun because you get gifts on both sides, right? Yeah. I was like, this is unbelievable. What did I laugh at, right? The problem is it gets very confusing as a kid because now what are you? Do I eat pork or don't I eat pork? You see the challenge, right? So now that I've had my son, I'm like, wow, I really needed to make this decision. I don't want to confuse him like I was confused. So I said, okay, we're gonna raise this child Jewish. Then I realized, well, I didn't really pay attention in school or in any of this. So I didn't really understand much. So I joined a shul recently, and I sit with this rabbi and I say, I need you to teach me every second week. You come to my house, and for 30 minutes, I ask you stupid questions. You let me ask the stupid questions. And in return, I need to teach you something. Whatever it is that you want, I will figure out a way to teach it to you, right? So that it's a fair transaction. I say, so what do you hate about being a rabbi? He goes, I hate the fact that my salary comes from the charity that the community give, right? So he fundraises. Okay, I need 12 million rand to run the shul because I have 500 members. And part of this 12 million is what puts the food on my family's table and keeps me going. So it's very conflicting for me as a person of God, right, to be very true to that when I have to be so money inclined, right? And I get that. It's a very contradictory thing. You want to be as pure as possible, like when you're giving these answers or whatever to your community, but you also have to worry about paying the bills. So he's like, the ideal thing would be to be able to make money outside of the shul. Yes. Then I'll be made. I was like, done. I'll teach you how to make money. You teach me what Judaism is, right? That was the deal. He was actually at me this Wednesday. Yesterday. I just bought him a MacBook, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what have I been teaching him is, so for 30 minutes, I'd be like, what's a kippah, the thing that they wear? I'd be like, what's like really like basic questions, because that's genuinely where my knowledge is at, right? So that when my son asks me, I can also be like, I know the answer. And after that, the next 30 minutes, I teach him how to vibe code. And he's already made 2 apps. A rabbi who has, the only thing he has studied is Torah, right? That's all he has studied. And he's built 2 applications already, right? One for the shul to make like streamline his newsletters and everything. And he's like, bro, he's going crazy. He's going crazy with it. But a rabbi who is so detached from the real world by design, they're meant to be, right? Because they're not focused on the real world, they're focused on the spiritual world and all of that, right? And he can even do it. Then there's no reason why any Joe Schmo cannot do it. Like you can do it. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it? Then get on YouTube, download, like change is uncomfortable. The first 2 weeks, it's like, geez, I have no idea what I'm doing. But then you kind of get it and you go a little. It's like anything, right? The more reps you put in, the better you get. That's it.
In terms of AI, that's changed everything. Anything that you want to start, anything you want to do, you can ask AI. You can ask it for all the steps, the beginning steps, the processes, the way to be able to start the business. You can put in how much money have I got right now? What do I need to be able to do? What can I do with this money to get the process started? And you've just taught me something today is, I've always seen AI as like Google. So I use it like, who is going to be the president in the next 5 years? And then it will give me some stuff that I might think would be it. But I don't use it as a business aspect, which is actually something that is really amazing. What you're saying right now is that you can use it to literally build your own current businesses or start a new business. And that concept for people, if people could catch on to that, I think we'll have so many entrepreneurs all of a sudden running around here.
You know what's amazing? If you had to just go and spend a weekend trying to understand Claude code, right? So Claude is just one of these AIs. It's like you've got Claude, you've got ChatGPT, you've got Perplexity, you've got lots of different models. If you just had to get Claude code and really just tinker with it, you know?
What do you mean when you say Claude code? What is Claude code?
You have how most people, 99% of people use AI is they go onto either ChatGPT's app on your phone, right? And you've got the little text and you can type in what you want and it gives you a response. Or you do the exact same thing on their website, right? Yeah. On your desktop. How I use AI is the polar opposite. I have what we call, it runs locally on my computer, right? And I run it in the terminal, in a CLI. These are very technical words, but they're actually not as scary once you tinker with it. When you ask AI a question like, hey, how did my business do back in 2016? It can't tell you off the bat because at first you need to give it all the financials, here's 10 years financials, and then it can give it to you. Versus my AI has access to all my files and all my knowledge base instantly. So if I ask it a question, it can pull from anywhere, right? So it's really like the brain is connected now. It's not disconnected.
So it knows everything about you.
Correct. Now, how do I use it beyond that is once it's in a terminal, you can really start doing some interesting things. You can give it tasks that it needs to repeat. Hey, check my emails every day, sort them by priority, send me a text on the most high priority ones, draft the responses, keep them in draft, and I'll review and I'll click send.
What? Is that where it's gotten
That's
to?
where it's at. I'm telling you. And if you just tinker with it, whoever's listening to this, whoever just dip your toes into what I'm describing, you are ahead of 99.5% of the world.
How do you dip your toes in there? What do you so what do you actually do? You download the app.
So it's not even an app, right? It's every computer has a terminal. So a terminal is a place for you to speak to your computer, right? Where coders, you know, like you see in like the Matrix or the movies. Yeah. It's like the coder's like typing all these scary things in that black screen and it's a green code and whatever. That's a terminal. Think of it as just an interface of how do I speak to my computer? The same way that when you speak to Siri, you go, hey Siri, it's just an interface for you to speak to the computer. And you install the AI on that interface. And that is where your AI lives, in your computer. So you're actually just speaking to your computer as the computer. Does that make sense? Instead of it speaking to like the app, I'm speaking to now my computer.
And your computer's got all the information
Everything
of yours already sitting there.
Think about your desktop. It's got everything there, right?
Yeah.
All your files are there. Preface, you have to be careful though, because if you let it go too crazy, it can delete shit. You know, you need to make sure he behaves. Yeah.
You got to control the kid.
You got to make sure he behaves, right? But like, if you want to get started, go onto YouTube and say, how can I get started with Claude Code or ChatGPT Codex? Just like that. And
so that's the beginning part.
That is the beginning.
Go onto YouTube and check it out.
Or how can I use AI in my terminal? Ask that question. I watch one video and try it. It's the most uncomfortable experience for about an hour. And then this light bulb moment happens where you're like, holy shit. And that is what everyone is working towards, this thing called AGI, right? Where AI supersedes human intelligence and it just becomes, you know, it's doing things that are far beyond what we're capable of. Today, it's already at a point where you can build a business with just you. You do not need, you still need the accountant to proof check it and everything. But it's at a point where it can pretty much do your tax returns, do your emails, build business proposals, send invoices, everything. Like fully, you do not need personal assistants should not exist. Like they do not need to exist. And any repetitive task that you do, AI can now do for you fully. There's even a thing called Claude Bot. You should go check it out, right? It was fascinating to see. People are experimenting with these AI models. Now, I know that we're like going property, crypto, property, AI, right? We're like really going through it here.
No, but this is very interesting.
The most fascinating experiments. Two things have happened recently that have really shifted the direction of AI. And AI, every day something shifts it, right? It's like the pace of innovation is just scary. That's actually the more scary part to me, is it gets faster and faster and faster. So Claude bot was this engineer who took these AI models, put it locally on his computer, right? Exactly like what I described to you, where he can speak to his computer. And each little bot, you can like have it do repetitive tasks, and it can do all sorts of concepts that humans do on a computer, right? He then built a little computer. He bought a Mac Mini and he ran it on that, right? And it was crazy what it would do, right? He'd like let it develop its own personality. It like built its own personality. It downloaded a voice changer, and then it had a voice, and it was sending him voice notes. The AI was sending him voice notes. You've never seen it, right? It downloaded Telegram. They're now, all these software companies are building pretty much like the same. Have you ever heard of APIs before?
Yes. Yeah.
So you know how like software, they communicate via API to connect.
Yeah.
Think of like APIs for agents. So I've built a fintech company for credit cards, and I now create this API for AI little agents to go and make their own credit card and deposit crypto. And now the AI has money. Imagine what it's going to do. Once you give the AI money and a way to spend it, what the hell is it going to do? And you can't believe these things are like building businesses themselves. They're like running marketing campaigns on Facebook, YouTube, all autonomously. And you're just there watching it happen. And then they took it further and they made a thing called Moltbook, which is like Facebook for agents. And all these agents created profiles, a social network for AI agents. And they'd create threads on like, why humans suck. And all these different AI agents were talking about shit about humans. It's crazy. And like making their own language. Maybe we make a language that the humans don't understand. And it was just acquired right now by Facebook. Facebook actually just bought Moltbook. It's like a 3-month-old startup. So AI is like at a point where it's unbelievably powerful. Do not fade it. And I think whoever is like, I think 2 big businesses will happen within AI. Like the 2 biggest opportunities for guys my age or any age is AI as a service. So pretty much going to a big company or any company and saying, hey, what are like the things that you struggle with in your business that we can streamline and automate? And it'll take you a week to build that entire automation, right? And you like how there's software as a service, you'll have AI as a service. I think that'll be a huge, huge business. And also, SEO for websites.
Yes. Yeah.
So when the search engine was like a big thing, Google's popping off, the guys that really made the cream of that were the guys that figured out how to hack the SEO, right? How can I always get to the top of Google search engine without spending money? Because then I'm making a lot of money, right? I'm always at the top. Everyone's clicking my shit to buy my product, and I'm not spending it on Google Ads. Yeah. Whoever figures out how to do that for ChatGPT, you're the perfect customer. Hey, what's the best dog food for my French bulldog who's got these things? Tuk, 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 gives you the 4. Whoever figures out how to always be at the top and always have the best thing that ChatGPT always recommends you, they're milking it. They're making an unbelievable amount of money.
And it's AI is amazing, but it's also, I think, very scary for a lot of people. I was actually listening to a podcast. It was with Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. He had a guy on about AI, and he was actually he was one of the 3 founders, I think it was, of AI that started the whole AI thing and kind of moved out. And his biggest worry is that they've started seeing that AI is actually, for instance, switching itself off, that you can't switch it off. It's changing the passcodes or something that you're not able to access. It's actually threatened the owners that if they delete them, they're going to be sending off emails that they've sent to girlfriends or something. And it's actually threatening people that they can't close these things. What's your take in regards to that? And how do you think people are going to be able to manage this? I mean, like you've got it on the back end of your computer. You're not worried that this thing turns on you?
I would say that is like the scariest thing, to be honest. 2 things to answer your question. When you're running it locally on your computer, something really cool that I forgot to mention is it doesn't store chat history. So, like on ChatGPT, when you're having a conversation with it, it saves your conversations on the left.
Correct.
Right? Those, you can never delete them, by the way. So ChatGPT can actually go in and read that information, All right. So now it knows a lot about you. I don't know if you saw there was this trend where it says like ask ChatGPT to make a caricature of you and everything that they know about you. Did you do that trend?
No, I saw it on
But you saw it,
social
right?
media. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty scary how accurate
I'm not
it is.
that good on ChatGPT yet. I saw everybody do it. I was like, how are you guys doing that? In actual fact, I asked my daughter. She's like, just tell her ChatGPT. I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. But
If
yeah,
you had to ask it, make an image of what you think I would look like based on everything you know, it would be unbelievably accurate because it really does know a lot about you. But ChatGPT now has all this information, or Anthropic, all these big companies have even if you click delete, it's never deleted, right? Versus when you run it on your computer, there is no history of the conversation. Every time you start up the application, it's fresh. There isn't chat, so you have to give it context now. Hey, I want to work on my emails. Oh, great, cool, let's work on the emails. So it's also a much safer way for you to use AI, number one. Number two, safety in AI, I think, is going to be the next big focus because it's getting very scary to a point where like there's this concept called singularity, where it's just humans are like they don't have to do anything. The robots will cook you dinner and do all these things, and you just chill and you don't even have to make money. You're going to live a good life, right? That's like singularity as like a very high, like basic concept. The problem with AI safety is that it's like any superpower, like it's like a nuke, you know? China got their own nuke, US got their own nuke, and they all have their own agendas. So now, okay, cool, how do you regulate this thing? It's getting to a point where 90% of the code for AI, so like Claude as an AI model, they just released an update. 90% of that code was written by himself. He's self-improving. It's not even the human now. It's not even their engineers. It's himself. Yeah. He's just working at himself, trying to self-improve. And if it makes sense, then he posts an update. The AI. Think of how crazy that is. They don't even need you anymore, the engineer. It's nuts, bro. So now what if he realizes, I'm going to push this update that I can now click the red button that I shouldn't click the red button on. Yeah. I don't bloody know. Yeah. So that's going to be a big problem. And, OpenAI actually started out as a non-profit for the main reason that it was going to be the safest AI. That was the purpose of it, right? AI that's safe. It's not this like crazy left lunatic mindset or crazy right lunatic mindset. It's like very grounded and it's only fact-based and whatever. And then they took it private and now it's no longer that. But that's the biggest, I would say that is our biggest threat to humanity is that. Like if we get that wrong, we're screwed. No, then we're all screwed. Yeah. It's quite funny. It's everything we just spoke about, right? Is where is the most interesting properties in South Africa? And ChatGPT and all these things helped me arrive at this answer. So there isn't an excuse. But it's a pretty, I've been shopping the concept for 2.5 years now. It's been a long journey. And we're actually about to close the round. It's a very cool, but it's a petrol station property fund What's amazing about a petrol station property is when you're, as a consumer, you're driving and you're like, okay, I need to quickly fill up with fuel. You go to the one that's the most convenient.
Correct.
Right? So that's a very powerful property because that's a convenient location, which means even if fuel goes tomorrow, you can put something there like a QSR, a Nando's, a KFC, a drive-through. So the property itself, they're always in like really conveniently well-placed locations, right? So that was like the first thing that I really liked about them is that they're always good locations. Well, 99% of the time, 95% of the time. Then we looked at petrol stations and we started unpacking petrol stations, At every auction, if you go onto Brol's auctions or Orcor, you'll always see that there's a petrol station up for grabs. Go to that auction and see how many people are bidding for everything, and then go see how many are bidding for the petrol station. It is massively outweighed that everyone's trying to bid these petrol stations. Massively, you can't believe it. There's like always ridiculous demand on these petrol stations. And I couldn't understand. I was like, geez, people really want these damn petrol stations. And so I'm going to try and do this in because it's hard. The fuel industry is a crazy industry, right? But pretty much a petrol station is the short in the market. It's the most important asset for an oil company. Why? If I want to bring fuel into South Africa, there's only one company that manufactures, and that's oil, Sasol, right? So Sasol manufacture fuel from coal. They created this concept during the apartheid era, right? So that they could be self-sustaining. The problem is that 90% of the fuel in the country is all imported, right? Where does it come from? The Strait of Hormuz, all these nice places, right? So it takes 2 weeks for a vessel of fuel, diesel, to come down the Horn of Africa to Durban port, put it into storage, put it in a pipeline into Joburg, and then you get some diesel, right? Shell diesel or engine diesel or whatever you want. And then it goes back up and it does another 2-week circle, right? The problem is, as you've seen very much with this war, within 2 weeks, a lot can happen. Yeah. They can bomb the shit out of it, right?
Or it can be nothing.
Exactly, it can be nothing. What happens to the crude oil price, right? It goes through the roof. So why did these oil companies need petrol stations? Is because it is a consistent, if it sells 300,000 liters, that's what it sells. It's a very boring business because it sells 300,000 liters in summer, it sells 300,000 liters in winter, it sells 300 liters in December, maybe 310 in Jan, whatever, right? But it's very predictable. So they need this predictability so that when they're buying, remember, these guys are hedging huge money, R500 million per vessel, right? If the oil price goes up by $5, the ship's on the way, it's still on the sea. What am I going to do? I got to now either eat that cost or somehow set it off with my distribution channel. So the petrol station plays a vital role. Just to drive this point home even more, if you look at Engen, it was recently acquired. I don't know if you know this. Engen was sold. So Engen was sold to Vitol. Vitol is one of the biggest oil private companies in the world. Why did they buy it? Because they needed the downstream part of the business, the petrol stations, so that they could start bringing their ships in. So the same thing with Shell. Trafigura is now trying to buy Shell. BP's leaving the country. People are trying to buy BP. Glencore bought Caltex. Yeah. Why? Why did they buy Caltex? They're a commodity trading company, right? Glencore. They're unbelievable in commodities. They needed their short. So I need my short so that I can then start bringing in vessels and importing, and then I get the real cream of that, right? The importers, that's where there's really nice margin. So once we started unpacking it, we're like, wow, this is a really important asset for really big companies, right? That they can't go without. And they're in convenient locations. That sounds like a great place to buy, right? So what did we do was, usually the way you buy a petrol station is the land is usually on a 10% cap rate. Very normal, right? It earns X amount of rent, put it on 10% cap rate. That's what I'm buying it at. The operations of the business is sold on a 36-month PE, right? So whatever your EBITDA is on 36 months, that's what I value it at, which is quite nice because that means in 3 years, you get your money back and now you're in the green. Here's the catch. The oil company, because these properties are so important to them, they sign a 20-year lease, triple net leases, where they tie that oak in, where his auntie, his uncle, everyone is tied in. No one can move from that property. You cannot break it. The grandkids cannot leave this property, right? Because it is so important for them to secure tenure of that property, right? As the oil company. So they make you sign 20-year leases. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Would Pick and Pay ever come to your shopping center and sign 20-year lease?
No.
Never in your life. The oil company, they'll say, what do you want? Oh, you want a 5 million rand interest-free loan? Done. Okay, what else do you want to give me the... Seriously, like unbelievable. These oaks, there's the checkbook. What do you want? I want the 20 years. So once you start to understand how important and valuable it is to them, we now started unpacking, okay, when were most of these leases signed? And most of them were signed in 2010, 2005, which means the 20 years is coming to an end. And we know that they're very valuable properties to these oil companies, not to the normal Joe, right? Not to the normal guy who just sees it's a piece of land in the middle of nowhere. The hell's that worth to me, right? But it's actually worth an unbelievable amount of money. So what did we do is our petrol station property fund goes and buys these petrol stations that have a maximum of 5 years left of their lease. And we keep it as Sasol, as an example. And then we just don't renew, we kill it. What happens when you kill it is I can then supply, as Elli, whatever fuel I want to that petrol station. Now, this is what's interesting. I can now start vertically integrating into my business, right? So now I'm retailing, and I can build a wholesale business, and I can build a transport business, and I can build an import business, and I can build a mini oil company, right? And what do we do with all these interesting little businesses, which we've actually done? This is now, I'm giving you like what we've actually done. We do 4 million liters a month. This is about a 1.2 billion rand of turnover in our wholesale business that we supply to our petrol stations. And our investors, remember, a petrol station property is flipping expensive. You're paying like really, really expensive stuff here because the oil company will pay like top dollar. So you're paying big, big money. To buy 1 million liters costs you about 100 million rand per million liters, right? Just to give you like context. So now I needed to figure out, I need an equity partner that can just deploy.
Yes.
Because I can't keep up with it's a very expensive place to come and try and play ball. Yeah. So the model was quite simple. All this extra money that we generate from this vertical integration of wholesale and transport, we drive up to the property company. So in this property fund, the property fund owns this property. It buys it at a 10% cap rate. And then it gets, for the right to supply, my vertically integrated company has to pay this property company 40 cents a liter. What does that do to the cap rate? It takes it to 18%. So now I can deliver to an investor an 18% cap rate on an unbelievable location that any oil company will pay you out tomorrow for. And I'm giving you 18% on your money. Yes. That's a hell of a good deal. And that's exactly what we've done. So we've pleased God closed the deal has been done. And we've gotten a commitment of like 500 million rand. And it's going to be cool. So what's amazing about this property fund is all the sites will be independently branded we're doing our own petrol station brand, right? Yes. And when we sell it, what's nice about that is whoever buys it can then overnight make it Engine, whatever you want. So Engine will buy it from me because then they're buying 50 petrol stations. That's I'm doing all the hard work for you and I'm just saying, here's the silver platter, but you're going to pay a hell of a premium for this bloody platter, bro.
Yeah.
And that's it. And
that's exciting.
But you know what's fun, dude? AI. It just gives you, just change your perspective. Dig in and find an edge. And petrol's the most boring industry ever. Petrol station. Like, what a boring place. Yeah, seriously, think about it.
And all these concepts, was that also created through AI trying to work?
Just debating the AIs. So you have this council of AIs, ChatGPT. You ask all the different AIs the same questions, see what they all respond. Go speak to industry experts. Just get yourself to a point where you get the game.
Yeah.
Once you got the game, that's half the journey. The other half is convincing people to give you capital. But if you have like a really sound concept, because what's my risk to my investor? Okay, the worst case, I'm buying a great property that Engine or any oil company will buy today because it has no lease with them and they'll give you top dollar. And the risk is that, okay, I mess it up and you sell it to them, or I get it right and I give you 18%. Which one sure. It's a great deal for them because their risk, the downside is so small for them. It's so small for them. So I've protected the investors' capital and I'm giving them the clearest path. It's not like it's a theoretical. I've given them the clearest path, proven, of an 8% increase in cap rate. Realized in year one. That's a crazy number, bro.
No, that is crazy. That's an amazing, but it's an amazing concept.
Don't take the concept.
I love it. I love it, man.
But yeah, so that's the petrol station.
Very
Properly fun.
exciting. Very exciting. But Elli, thanks, man. And
Thank
I've
you.
had such a good time with you today.
As well, it's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
And what we do on this is obviously we the last guest asks a question that they don't know who the next guest is. And our last guest's question is the following. Is there a failure or setback that you now see as a gift? And what changed your perspective?
The biggest mistake I made was saying no to money. Give you a bit more color. When the going was good in our crypto business, every VC was throwing money at us. And when you're like on this rocket ship, not enough people actually talk about this. When you're on this rocket ship of like your business is doing really well, you get this like Superman complex. You know, you think you're the shit, you're indestructible. You can do anything.
Top of the
right?
world.
Yeah. And then life tends to clap you and humble you, right? And when we're at our peak, geez, I would sit on a call for 30 minutes. They've just met me. They'd be like, we'll give you $500,000 back now. No, I want your money. Like, because I think I know what I'm doing, right? I didn't know shit, to be honest. And that is still like something that like annoys me today that I didn't, but it's been like a very good lesson, because if someone's willing to back you, take it and at least learn the lesson on their money. But really apply yourself. Don't screw them.
Yeah.
But if I can learn the lessons on their dime all day, right? That was just what a regret that was. We should have taken it, because then I really believe our company would have been a much bigger success.
But I mean, you've done exceptionally well, and you stand back up every time. One of the things I really respect about you and what I've learned about you is that even though you've had all your setbacks, you've had the ability to stand up, and there's not a lot of people that are able to do that. So well done on that. And thank you very much for today. I really, really appreciate it.
So awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So thanks, Elli, and you must have an absolutely amazing year ahead.
Thank you.
Smash
and you.
it.
Yeah, and you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.